Hi friends, it's Greg with Greg Goes Global, and today we're going to Greece with 4 things that nobody tells you about when you go to Greece, and one huge mistake I almost made that I want to help you avoid. The first thing that nobody tells you about when you visit Greece is that Greece is more than just Athens and then island hopping. In fact, I would highly recommend you visit Madeira. It is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes. Madeira is a set of monasteries that sit on top of these huge mountains that were built over 500 years ago by monks. Although at its height, over 500 years ago, there were 24 monasteries. Unfortunately, only 6 remain. But the good news is you can visit all 6 today, and it's actually really affordable at €3 each. One tip though, if you're visiting Madeira, is you want to check on Google Maps and see which days these monasteries are open. Not every single monastery is open every single day of the week. Also, for women visiting Madeira, make sure you wear a dress because that is their dress code. Fortunately, if you happen to forget your dress, don't worry. They do give you thin blankets to wrap around your legs when you enter. Another thing that nobody tells you about when you visit Greece is how affordable the food options are. You can get a huge meal for just 10 or 15 euros, and a cup of wine is around 3 or 4 euros. Speaking of wines, no meal in Greece is complete without getting a house wine from the restaurants. These house wines are often made by the restaurant owner or one of their neighbors. If you've never tried one of these wines before, you have to try it out. It's nothing like the wines I've ever drank in the US. These house wines taste so fresh. They taste like freshly squeezed grape juice, but a little bit less sugary. Now, if you're into history like I am, you have to try out drinking these wines just like how the ancient Greeks did. The ancient Greeks, they drank their wine by mixing 3 parts water to 1 part wine. Now, to our modern taste buds, that might seem a little bit weird, but to the ancient Greeks, if you drank your wine undiluted, that was uncivilized and barbaric. Now, if you want to splurge a little bit, you have to try out this one Michelin star restaurant in Athens called Hervé. For 120 euros, you can get a 16-course tasting menu. To be fair, that is a little bit on the more expensive side, but if you're in the US, you're going to be paying 2 or even 3 times the price for the same type of meal. Here's another thing that nobody tells you about when you visit Greece. It's actually really easy to rent a car and do a road trip in Greece. You actually don't even need an international driver's license. You can just rent a car with your US driver's license. But if you are renting a car in Greece, be warned though, the gas there is really expensive. It's about twice the price of what I'm used to paying here at home. Here's another tip if you're going to be renting a car in Greece. Make sure to get a small car. Not only are you going to save a fortune on gas, you're also going to be able to park more easily. In fact, I almost made a huge mistake when I rented what's considered a normal-sized SUV here in the US. In fact, at one of the hotels I was staying at, when I was trying to park the car, I actually scratched the front bumper. And the car rental company tried to charge me over $600 just to fix a small scratch on the front bumper. Thankfully, I had rented the car with my Capital One Venture X, and they acted as the primary insurance for my rental. And because of that, they covered the entire accident with nothing coming out of my own pockets. If you're also interested in being protected for your car rental, whether it's in the US or overseas, make sure you also apply for the Capital One Venture X using my personalized referral link down below. Speaking about unexpected expenses when driving, you gotta watch out for the tolls. I probably spent over $100 on my week road trip around Greece on the highways. The good news is, car rentals in Greece are actually really cheap. They start off at around 10 or 15 euros per day, and even if you're getting a full-size SUV to lug around your entire family, they're only around 30 euros per day. And onto the very last thing that nobody tells you about when visiting Greece, and that is, don't be afraid to visit in the winter time. If you happen to go between July and September, that's probably the peak travel season. So you're gonna be stuck like a fish in a sardine can. If you happen to visit Greece in January like I did, not only are flights and accommodations going to be a little bit cheaper, but you're also going to be able to enjoy a few different places all by yourself. For example, when I visited the ancient city of Olympia, which is where the first Olympics Games were held over 3,000 years ago. When we visited the archaeological museum at the ancient city of Olympia, we were actually the only 2 people in the entire museum. And they actually had 2 security guards that followed us from room to room because they had nothing else to do. And same for our hotel. We were literally the only 2 people in the entire hotel. At night, when I went outside, I saw our room was the only room in the entire hotel with the lights on. And when the front desk person went home for the night, I gotta say, being completely alone in a huge building all by yourself in a new country was kind of creepy. Another thing that I was worried about when I visited Greece in the wintertime was that the weather would not be good. I was worried that it would be raining the entire time. But thankfully, it rained only about half the day for the entire week and a half that we were there. And most of the days in the daytime, it was between 50 and 60 degrees, which for me is the perfect temperature to travel, since you can walk around and explore as much as you want without having to worry about overheating. If you found this video helpful, please help me out by subscribing to my channel for more travel videos.